Well, we're here at the back end of the Rotorcraft and Unmanned Systems Asia at Changi Exhibition Centre in Singapore. We've been inside doing the show daily all week. Had a chance to run around a little bit, a lot, frankly. One of the points I'd like to raise, Helen, I think possibly a lowlight more than anything, has been the absence from the show floor in terms of exhibiting of the national design and manufacturing OEM ST Engineering. They've had officials on panels and various discussions, but in terms of showcasing their technology, they've chosen, unlike in 2017, to stay away this year. Generally, news as well, I think, has been quite slow. There have been a couple of MOUs, one from Aero Lion. The Volocopter program has moved on ever so slightly, but you'll probably agree with me. In terms of walking around and talking to the various people here, lots of aspiration in terms of access to the Asia-Pacific market, but a complete lack, frankly, of specificity as to how they'll go about doing it.
100%, Richard. I think most of our pertinent news came from the conferences, for one. You said there about access to markets. With regards to the Rotorcraft Asia conference, a lot of that was about accessibility and the issues that manufacturers have in countries. There's the language barriers as well as the regulatory practices that aren't collective at this stage. And on the idea of collectivity, something that we raised at the beginning of the week was convergence. The convergence between the unmanned sector and the rotary sector. Now, one thing that I've noticed, and I'm sure you have as well, is the unmanned presence here is a lot more dominant than it was 2 years ago. And one of the key topics for unmanned systems, which is common, as I've said, across the world at the moment for rotorcraft and unmanned, is urban air mobility. I was fortunate enough to speak to Embraer X. Now, what they're doing, which I find particularly interesting, is their pragmatic and sobering approach to urban air mobility. Whilst other manufacturers, in my opinion, are quite cavalier, they're pushing platforms at quite a rapid rate. They're very, in my opinion, again, arrogant.
A lot of hype.
Exactly, a lot of hype in this market, that these platforms are going to fly and the public are going to be accepting. Embraer X are releasing a white paper. One of the key directions that they're looking at is air traffic control technologies. Now, Embraer X is a division of Embraer as well as a company. One of Embraer's subsidiaries is ATEC. Now, ATEC develops air traffic control technologies. So I think this white paper will be very interesting, because also Embraer X are actually speaking and canvassing opinion from the public via their website, via working groups, via even speaking to industry. So I'm looking forward to that getting more development and more traction, and I hope that something like this project, or white paper, from Embraer X may indeed rein this kind of, as I said, cavalier approach to urban air mobility. So this is something that I'm particularly excited to be seeing from the early days of the project.
You actually conducted an experiment of sorts yourself, didn't you?
Yes, so we took to Twitter at the beginning of the week and put forward a poll of whether the Twitter sphere would perhaps be a passenger in an unmanned air taxi over an urban environment. We got the results back, and out of the 55 people who responded, 56% of those people said they would not go in an urban air taxi. I think that's very telling.
I agree entirely. So there we go. Thanks so much for paying attention to us during this time. And if you'd like to check out any more news from Rotorcraft Asia and Unmanned Systems Asia, website